This is AndyTube. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate to you how to check the height of the index pins on a Singer Model 401A. And if the height is off, I'll explain how you can correct the height of the index pin. And what the index pin are these two posts that the followers slide onto. If you saw the early video, I showed you the follower, and it goes on that post, and the little pointer, one side of it, follows along a pattern disc on the cam stack, right, as the cam stack turns. The other side of the little pointer here pushes on the paddle of the needle bar driving arm, which makes the needle bar driving arm swing to that pattern, and the needle bar driving arm comes up on the front of the machine here, and it attaches right here to the vibrating bracket. So it makes this bracket vibrate or swing back and forth, again according to whatever pattern is on that disc of the cam stack. And that will make the needle bar swing left and right, or what we commonly call zigzag. So the reason that you want to be sure that your height of that index pin is correct is when it's off, the follower, instead of going right along the middle of that disc, it can get a little high or a little low. And while the machine is sewing along, the follower can move a little bit and start being hit or moved by other bumps on the upper or lower pattern to it. So you start to get patterns other than what you chose on the two dials. You know, you can get, you start to make like a diamond, and all of a sudden it looks rounded in the middle, or it looks rounded on one end, and you you can't quite figure out. Okay, so that's the explanation of it and why you want to do it. And I will say it's pretty rare to have to change the height of one of the pins or both. It's usually only if somebody else has changed the height to begin with. It can also happen if a follower gets bent. When the stops on the shaft are out of the correct spacing, the follower and the lifter floating little finger there can kind of slip out of the follower and hang things up, and the disc can get hung up. I mean, the follower can get hung up. Like in this example, I've taken the one of the plastic pattern discs off of the cam stack, And if it was off and people were changing this and it got put up, you can kind of see right here how the tip of this follower is on top of this metal cam. And I had that experience before. When I got the machine, I could not put this plastic cam on. It just wouldn't go on. I didn't know at the time it was because this pin on the follower was overhanging. Okay, now if I had really forced it, you know, like what the heck, and maybe I'm not pushing hard enough, I could have bent this follower a little bit. So then later when I was, you know, maybe I put it on the letter N to sew a certain pattern, but maybe it was actually hitting M, or it was half N and half M below it. You know, it was kind of skipping around between two discs. So that is another possibility. But one of the main, I got to say, one of the main things I find on many machines, and especially this particular model, is that they are just so dirty down inside here that built up oil and dirt and varnish get on there, and these get very hard to adjust, and especially at the lower following adjustments down there, there's so much stuff built up on the bottom of these index pins that the follower can't go down. It just like gets stuck, or it doesn't go down to the aluminum base like you're hearing that. That follower and lifter are going all the way down to where this pin is into the base of the machine, and that's what's supposed to happen. That's how the whole thing is engineered. But if there's, you know, a 64th of an inch of built up gunk down there, it can't get all the way down. And boy, will people turn these knobs. They'll push and turn and pull and turn, and then again you can get some stuff bent down there. So looking for stuff like that, if you are not sewing the pattern that you're setting up here, looking for especially gunk and dirt, but also a bent follower, is what you want to do first. And if all that is good, then I'll show you here how to check the height of the pins. It's easy to do, and it's not that hard to change the height of them either. So let me reset up here, because I need a better top-down view, and then I'll show you how to check. But before I move the machine down there, I do want to tell you, to do this test, you want to put the knobs in a certain position, and it's basically the positions that will bring the lifter up to the top of the cam stack, the metal cam stack. So the front knob, which controls this left side, you want to push it in and then turn it all the way down to J, the bottom, and make sure it locks back in. Make sure that floating pin goes through the lifter and into a groove and locks like that. Did you hear that little kind of click? You know, make sure you get it in there. Okay. Then the other side, I mean, normally you're going to have this in A, K, and 3, straight stitch, or I think zigzag is BL, you know. But you want this left side to be at J, and then you want to pull the back knob and turn it from wherever it is and put it on R. Okay, and again, make sure that little finger has clicked in. You can feel it and you can hear it. You know, if you get between, it doesn't always go in. But when you're on the right spot, you'll kind of feel it snap in from the spring, and you can kind of hear it in there. Okay. Okay. Now let me set up, and I'll show you how to check these. To do this test, I use a feeler gauge blade that is 0.015 inch. Now it's supposed to be 0.015 inch, or 1/64 of 1 inch, which would be 0.156. In all my gauges, it goes from 0.15 to 0.16. That's why I chose to go a little under the mark than over. And you'll see when this goes, this testing the height, if you don't have a feeler gauge, you could probably fool around and just eyeball it, trying to look for a thickness like that. I guess you could find out how thick a piece of bond paper or copy paper is and see how many it would take. You know, like, I don't know, 3 pieces of paper or something to have this kind of thickness, and cut out little strips and stack it. But anyway, this is what I use, and the setting for this is that the follower should be 1/64 of an inch from the top of the top metal cam. So the way I test it is I take this as close as I can get to 1/64, and I lay it on top of the follower right up against the cam or the disc, and I see if it's even or very darn close, you know. So to test the front one, I'm going to put the red lever in position 1, which will move the driving arm back. So I've got a little more room, okay? And then I'm going to go right in there and find a place, my famous last words, to get, maybe I should move it to 5. I think I'm doing this backwards. If I move the red lever to 5, which is all the way to the right, I think that's what I did, then I can lay this like so and get my feeler gauge up against the cam right here. There. Oh gosh, I had it flat for a second. And get it up against the cam, and I'm really kind of measuring the front height. And I want to see if it's level. Maybe I can take a close picture of that. Okay, so you're getting the idea here, right? With this, put this on here so it doesn't fall off. With the back knob turned up to R, the idea is that the follower is going to be right in the middle of this top pattern cam or pattern disc. And it should be just a hair below, or 1/64 of an inch, or that 0.0 0.15 inch, which is about 381 millimeters on the blade there, and mine are good. See how they're even? Okay. So my test or checking is okay. The index pin is sitting at the right height because the follower is going to go wherever this lifter puts it, and the lifter is going to have this finger go right through the slot of the follower and into a slot on the pin, and they don't have any choice. You know, once you lock that in and it snaps in place, it doesn't move. You know, so if the pin is high or low, that's where the follower's going to be. All right, so you're getting that. So now to test the back one, I'm going to move this red lever now to the 1, and I'm going to, whoops, get my wrist strap out of the frame. I'm going to move this blade and try and put it another way so I can nudge it right up against the cam or pattern. Right there. And I see this one is good. Boy, it might be a tiny bit low. Let me make sure I've got the front button pushed in and turned left and locked into J. Yeah, it's there. It looks just a tiny bit below. When I drag something across there, I can feel a little difference. When I drag, you know, earlier when I was testing this and dragged across the front one, it was just smooth. This one, there's just a little hesitation, but it is so minute, I would not change it. If I was sewing good and my patterns were good, I would not change anything. So that's how to check, and I'm going to call both of mine good and set to the right height. Lucky me. Yay. Poor Trouble has enough stuff going on here. So but what if yours is high or low? Okay? Or what if you decide to take a bunch of this stuff out? Hello, Carol. and super clean down in there so you can start fresh. Then you're going to have to, you know, I showed you how to take the cam stack in and out and all these parts. What if you wanted to take the index pins out? And let me show you why you may want to do that. I have an index pin from a 500A, which uses pretty much the same setup as the 401. And this is what I'm going to show you is very typical of what I find in there. See how the top of the pin doesn't look too bad? But if you could see it as close as I do, and you could see into these slots, every one of them has black, dried up, varnished oil sitting on the bottom of the slot. You know, it sits in there like this. So when that little finger's going inside, it has to fight that. And then look at these bottom areas, because when it does get oil always goes down, right? And that's what I'm talking about, how you can get so much buildup down here that that your follower won't go all the way to the bottom of this. Now, last night I sprayed this I took out the set screw and I sprayed it with WD-40, and I sprayed WD-40 down into this old beat up 500A. And this morning, 9 hours later, I still had to take a punch from the bottom and punch this up enough so that I could get it out of the hole in the machine it goes into. That's how much gunk is in there. Okay, so that's enough grossness for this video. So let me set up again, and I'm going to show you how to access this front pin. Okay, I am going to show you this thing again, sorry, but it's held, the pins are held in place by a set screw. I mentioned taking it out. You can see the shiny spot on the flat spot where the set screw goes, and it's a flat spot because it wants you to have these slots facing the follower so the finger can go in, right? So you don't get it turned. But you see the size of the set screw in comparison to the flat spot, so you don't have a bunch of room to adjust. It doesn't take a lot of adjusting. You know, on this pin you could raise it up a little bit, or you could raise it lower it down. Okay, and that set screw is back behind the lampshade and behind the lamp itself. So I'll show you how to open that up if you've never done it. There's two screws that hold the lampshade on, so we'll take those out, and you'll be exposing the thing called the lamp. It's like the light socket and bulb. This is very easy to take off, and you do this when you want to clean behind there and you want to change the light bulb, and if it's burned out, or you want to change it to put in an LED bulb. Okay, and then here is the lamp and the bulb, and there's a steel band that holds these two bakelite pieces together, and it's held to the machine with one screw right there. So it's not this one. This is the oil port for the top of the vertical shaft, the bushing. This there's a hole for the cam stack, right? And back behind this lamp is a hole for that index pin. So let me take this lamp out, and you can just let the lamp hang by the wire. It won't hurt it. There. See that set screw right there? And you notice it makes sense because you can see the top of the index pin right here, and that set screw is directly in line with it. Okay, so that is what's holding, and if you take that out, if you take that out, well, I guess it's good that that's happening, so you get an idea of what it can get down in there, right? Of course, you know where I'm going with this, right? If you take that out, or just back it up a little bit and pull the index pin up or down until your feeler gauge top is even with your pattern disc top, and then you would tighten up the set screw, right? Okay. The problem is if you manage to get the set screw out or back it up, you still have to get that pin to move. And in my experience, you're going to have to do something like I did. Take the set screw out and spray some kind of penetrating oil, or I've also just dropped drops of pure crud cutter down in there to soften and start degreasing. But I've usually had to tap them with a punch. Oh boy, I love that little mini ratchet. Look at that. I've usually had to tap them with a punch to get them to move, especially to get it out. So the very few that I have ever had to do this with, I just went ahead and took them out. Dang it, I just said, hey, I'm going to take the whole thing out and clean it and pull the pin and pull the shafts, and some of the other videos I've been making on this. Because once you get in there and start looking at it, you just realize how gunky it can be. So I wanted to show you how long this set screw is, because the pin's not too far, you know. It's right there. See how this is recessed in? So that's how far it is inside. And then I guess I should try and show you the bottom of the machine here. Let me put something back there to rest trouble on. Oh yeah, you can kind of see it right there. Let's see. There's the bottom of the index pin right there, flush with the aluminum body. So you can get a punch in there, and even at an angle, because there's a little hole in it there, and you can tippy tap and start breaking it free. And I have also gently tapped up on the top of the index pin with a rubber mallet, you know, to try and break it free. So usually I'll be taking this out like I showed in the previous video, and dripping crud cutter or spraying WD-40 in here, down there, in the set screw hole. I'll turn it upside down and put some around the bottom, let it sit for hours or a day or whatever to try and get this stuff loosened up. Now you can use a hair dryer also to heat stuff up, but if you start moving the pin, you've got to put something behind here, behind that knob, because you don't want to move it very much with the lifter finger inside there. Because if you're punching it or hammering on it and it starts moving, you don't want it to get bent or damaged or anything. So I'll usually pull this out so then the finger comes out enough, get it down out of my way, and maybe I'll put some pair of pliers, plastic handle pliers, or barbecue sticks or something wedged behind there to keep that pulled out, and that little floating finger out of being locked in. See how it's locked in? Now it's out, in, out, in, out. So that's what I do before I try and move the index pin. Unless it's something I already cleaned and I'm installing and I just need to nudge it a little bit to get the feeler gauge level, you know, then I'll leave the finger in and it's no big deal. But with that finger out and the knob pulled away, I have tapped on it. I don't want to change this one because it's pretty good right now. But many times I've had to come from the bottom with a punch and punched right there. And I kind of like doing that better because this down here is usually where it's stuck. So I'm putting the pressure down here and not at the opposite end of the pin. The pin is solid steel, but I'm still nervous I would bend it or something, you know. So anyway, when I got it out, I could clean it. I could run a brush through there with some crud cutter or alcohol and scrub it all out. I could take the nasty pin and soak it in whatever cleaner I liked and get it all cleaned and polished up, and especially all these little slots too, which are all gunked up in there. And then I could, you know, put it in there. I could get my set screw started up and kind of into that flat spot, whoops, backwards, into the flat spot without it touching the pin. So then I could gently nudge the pin up and down to get it at the height I wanted, and then tighten the set screw. Because if you have it all clean, it may not just want to stand up in there by itself. So I'll put the set screw in until I feel it hit the pin, find the flat spot, wiggle, wiggle, find the spot, and then back it off like a turn, and then gently, you know, tap it down or lift it up. And when I get it where I want, I'll tighten it, and then I'll use a better screwdriver to go in and permanently tighten the position. Okay, and then of course I'm going to put my lamp back on with the single screw, and I'll put my lamp shade, you know, back on with the two screws if I want. So that is the front. Let me quickly spin this around here and I'll show you the back. If you've seen this hole before and you wonder what is that for, well, look right here. Here's the rear index pin. Okay, and so that's going to be the same thing. Oh, good. That one's a little better. So I wanted to show you this set screw because if I remember right, it's longer than the other. Yeah, see, it's a lot longer. But there's the end of it, and it's got the same kind of a setup as the front, you know. The only difference is the flat spot is going to be on the back side of the pin, or what I think of as the back of the pin, because that's where the slots for the lifter is. And if I have to work on this to punch it down or up, you know, to break it free, all I do, this is a little easier. You could, you know, you need to depress this in to get the lifter out of that slot. See right here? Then when you press back, it's away from the slot on the index pin, and so it moves. So I would move it down, and you have to keep the knob depressed. So I just put something soft, you know, take one of my old bath towels or something soft down here, and I'll just lay the machine and that knob right on that spot, and you can see it's depressed because this pops up, right? The shaft that we worked on, it's up. So then I feel comfortable. I can go back here, put my little punch in there, and usually I can't get a hammer too good, so what I'll do is take an old 2x4 like this maybe, and have the punch in there and just keep tapping until it starts moving, you know. And then of course you would do the same procedure. You would put your feeler gauge blade, you would put this in J and bring it up. Whoops, you would put the dial in front in J to bring this up, so that the follower comes all the way up, and then you could get your feeler gauge in there and say, yeah, I'm high, yeah, I'm low, and then you could nudge your pin up or down until you had the 0.015 inch, you know, level with the disc, and then just put your set screw back tight. So again, on these that I clean, I'll put that in and I'll start the set screw going, and I'll put it in, and by twisting the index pin I'll find the flat spot, you know, and say, okay, I'm on the flat spot, and then I'll just back it out a turn so that I can slide the pin up and down. When I get the pin to the height I want, I'll tighten it up. So just in case you ever have to replace or repair those index pins, somebody's been in there before and played around, or if you wanna, that's kind of annoying, if you want to take them out to do a super cleaning, now you know, and the setting is J and R to bring the two followers up even with that top metal pattern disc. Well, you don't want them even. You want them this far below the top of the disc. Whee! Look at that. It's not much, is it? Whew. Okay, so that's it. Thanks for watching. I was hoping to show you something maybe you'd never seen before. Maybe there's 10 videos like this on YouTube. I don't know. I don't have a chance to watch YouTube much anymore because I'm making videos and answering comments and emails. But I don't remember ever seeing anything like this. So I hope you never need it, but if you do or you want to, you've got it. Only on AndyTube. So think about subscribing so you know what I'm up to. And please, if you have time, come back and visit my channel. Take care now.